Morning, everybody. Everybody nice and relaxed after the meditation? Nobody nervous and anxious? Just me? Okay. Good morning. My name is Bill Warner. I am a member of the Board of Trustees here at Unity Spiritual Center. And I am here to continue with our summer series of metaphysics in the movies. And you probably already know by now that the movie is 2001: A Space Odyssey. How many here have seen the movie? How many here thought it was boring? A couple. How many thought after they saw the movie that, oh yeah, I get it, I understand all that? Yeah, me neither. Stanley Kubrick was asked what the meaning of his movie was, especially the metaphysical part of the movie. And he said this: "It's not a message I ever intended to convey in words. 2001 is a non-verbal experience, one that directly penetrates the subconscious with an emotional and philosophic content." In later interviews, he would explain that the experience of his film is like the experience one has looking at a painting or listening to music. And indeed, when you're watching this movie, it seems like that's what you're doing. You're watching something that's not moving very fast. But for us, we need to find out what this movie means metaphysically, because that's where we're coming from, right? So, now I can understand that you have a story where you leave some elements kind of vague, so you can promote conversation or promote controversy, or even to leave room for a sequel, okay? But in this movie, at every major turn in the movie, we are left to decide for ourselves just what is going on. Why start a space movie with prehistoric ape men? What is that monolith thing? Why did the computer on the Discovery 1 start killing everybody? And why the bizarre ending with Dave Bowman entering into the monolith and then a star child baby in a bubble coming out later? What is all that about? Is it any wonder that there's as many meanings to this movie as there are critics and film academics? But again, we need to look at it from a metaphysical point of view. So let's start, and we're going to do it by reacquainting ourselves with some of our 12 powers, okay? The first one we're going to use is imagination. Imagination is the ability to image, picture, conceptualize, envision, dream. We need to always keep this one in mind. We're going to use it a lot. And then there's wisdom. The wisdom is the ability to evaluate, discern, and apply what we know. Again, we're going to be using this one. We're also going to be using as guides all 5 of our unity principles, because we're going to need them to see what this remarkable movie really means. So let's begin with the movie, shall we? The movie's broken down into 4 major segments. There's the dawn of mankind, that's the one with the 8 men. There's modern man, that's when they're leaving the planet, going to the moon. There's the trip to Jupiter. And then there's the transformation to the star child. Now, the single element that connects all 4 of these is the monolith. The monolith acts as an agent of change. And when the monolith appears, things happen. Okay? So we're going to use the monolith as a way for us to understand what's going on in each segment. Now, one theory of the monolith says that it's a tool designed and placed there by an intelligent, highly advanced race to aid in mankind's development. Another theory says the monolith represents an anthropomorphic God directing the growth of mankind. Both of these are outside forces acting upon mankind. Now, for us, metaphysically, change comes from within. New Thought and Unity teaches that there is only one presence, one power. Since God is all, there is nothing outside of God. Unity principle number 1. It also teaches that we are the very essence of God. God is individualized in each one of us, our Christ Spirit. Principle number 2. So for us, the agent of change that we are going to use, the monolith that what represents in the monolith for us is going to be our Christ Spirit. You follow me? Okay. Because the Odyssey that we are embark on is not of space exploration. It's of personal spiritual growth. The movie starts with the dawn of mankind. The monolith appears to a clan of apes. After this first encounter with the monolith, we will see the leader of the apes have a quick flashback to the monolith, after which he picks up a bone and he starts smashing other bones. This is his aha moment. Let's take a look. There it is. Now, instead of using his hands, picks up a bone. And he smashes the rest of the bones. Everyone in this room has had an aha moment. You know how I know that? Because it's Sunday morning and you're sitting here in a spiritual center, you're not out on the golf course. Our aha moment occurs when our Christ Spirit just pierces into our human consciousness to give us a glimpse of what our potential could be. For the ape man, it was the use of tools. For today for us, being the highly evolved, obviously highly evolved people that we are, it's a little more complicated. But it does start us on our journey for the truth of our being. Let's now fast forward 4 million years to the time of modern man, 2001. The monolith makes its second appearance, and this time it's on the moon. The monolith has been recently uncovered and examined by humans for the first time. It then emits a powerful radio signal aimed at Jupiter, where there is another monolith. This is generally believed to be the most straightforward of the monolith's appearances. It is simply calling home. It is saying to the other monolith, they're here, the humans are on the moon. Now, metaphysically, for us, does that make any sense? Remember, the monolith represents our Christ spirit. So who's our Christ spirit calling? Is God calling God? That would be an interesting conversation. How about if we look at it a little differently? How about if we look at it as this, our Christ spirit instead is pointing the way for our path, saying, that's where you need to go. Follow that path. Go there. So we're going to start our journey. The next scene in the movie flips to the Discovery 1 spacecraft, where we see Dave Bowman and Frank Poole starting their journey. And they're taking along with them some of the necessities of life, things like air, food, gravity. They're also taking along the culture of their upbringing. And this is poignantly displayed by Frank Poole's parents singing happy birthday to him over the video phone. Their odyssey now is beginning. So for us, metaphysically, we've just been told we have a path to follow. Which path are we going to choose? Are we going to choose the path of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, paganism, New Thought? What? Which discovery will we board? They're all going to the same place. So the only thing that matters is which one is right for you. Which one is right for your cultural background? Which one is right for your needs? Using myself as an example, I initially joined the Christian Discovery One. Now, since we're not really going into space, we don't have to worry about the air, food, gravity part. But when you board your Discovery, you will be handed an additional necessities list. In my case, it was Christian doctrine, dogma, creeds, policies, rituals, etc. You get the idea. And at some point, when you're carrying all this stuff, you're starting to think, how much of this am I really going to need? How much of it is useful? How much of it is in conflict with values I already have established? How much of it will I end up rejecting? Will I even need to change paths along the way? That's our journey. That's the journey we're on. That's our journey of discovery. On discovery. Well, by the time the Discovery 1 spaceship arrives at Jupiter, the journey has not gone well. Frank Poole is dead, as are all the others that were in cryosleep. Dave Bowman is the lone surviving astronaut. And as the Discovery 1 approaches Jupiter, he leaves the spaceship in an EVA pod to make rendezvous with the monolith that's there. Our spiritual journey, likewise, is usually not an easy one. If you become the least bit aware of what is going on in the world and in your community, if you have taken any time at all to independently study within your faith tradition, conflicts will occur. The questions raised earlier are going to take on a priority. And you may ask yourselves, am I on the right path? But you do realize one thing. You realize that to be true to your faith, You must be true to yourself. This is a picture of Dave Bowman inside the HAL 9000 computer. Dave Bowman had quite a struggle to reach the monolith at Jupiter. He had to overcome the HAL 9000 malfunctioning and killing everybody and trying to kill himself. He did that by going deep into the computer and making small incremental changes. This is what he's doing here. He's taking out little memory cores and taking out different instructions that the computer has and disconnecting from them. These small incremental changes result in a major change in Hal's behavior. He no longer tries to kill him. And just as Dave Bowman made changes in Hal, we have to make changes in ourselves, sometimes small, sometimes big. Unity principle number 3 says human beings create their experiences by the activity of their thinking. Responding to your faith study and your experience in the world, we can't help but change from where we started. Through prayer and meditation, the talking to and listening to God, we heighten our connection with God and therefore bring forth wisdom. Principle number 4. And by doing that, we are preparing ourselves to change our world. Our next cathartic moment with the Christ Spirit is about to happen, and when it does, sparks fly. Dave Bowman is now alone in his EVA pod. He enters the monolith. This marks the beginning of the film's most cryptic and psychedelic sequence. Is this a Stargate? Some giant cosmic router? Transporter? All we know for sure is that Dave Bowman is on the ride of his life, and he has no control over where he's going or how he's getting there. For us, on our metaphysical spiritual journey, this encounter with the monolith marks our time when the Christ Spirit takes over our human experience. It's been referred to as a calling, a call to ministry, or as having a passion. If you've ever experienced this, you know that it feels like an urgent need, something that will just not let go of you. It may manifest as a commitment to becoming a licensed Unity teacher. It may manifest as feeding the hungry and homeless, even if it's just a breakfast on Saturday. Providing food and bedding for a shelter that cares for abused and abandoned animals. It may manifest as getting school children the supplies they need so that they can succeed well enough to keep their school from closing. It may manifest as supporting an interfaith cooperation in our community by hosting the Tibetan monks, refugees. It may manifest by standing up to social injustice, by marching with others in our community to protest the separation of children from their parents simply for coming here. And finally, it may manifest as loving life so much that you are willing to give part of your body so someone else can live. This is just some of the things that are happening here at this Unity. This Christ Spirit in action. I'd have to say Unity principle number 5 is alive and well, wouldn't you? I need to take a breath. This Starfield section of the movie that we're watching this is just a clip. It's a recycling every 6 seconds. But this part of the film actually lasts 11 minutes. And during that time, variations on this star field appear for what must seem like forever on film. And so it should, because this represents the time in our lives when our Christ Spirit is the time that we are acting in our Christ Spirit, let me put it that way. And this should be a lifetime's work. But just as Dave Bowman ends his trip, so our human experience also comes to an end. The monolith makes its final appearance, standing at the foot of Dave Bowman's bed as he approaches death. This has become a particularly personal scene for me. And if I can get through it, I'd like to tell you why. I thought the other part was going to be easy. I come from a family with 5 kids. I'm the oldest. My brother is the youngest. And in between the two of us, we have 3 sisters. Our middle sister died a few years ago after a lifelong battle with type 1 diabetes. My other sisters were my thoughtful wife. My other sisters were with her in her hospital room when she had been unresponsive for quite a while. And suddenly, her eyes opened, and she started to raise up, and she lifted her arms up, much like Dave Bowman is doing here. And my sister said that she appeared to be mouthing the words, "Yes, thank you." Then she laid back down, closed her eyes, never regained consciousness. I have always believed that that's when her spirit left her body. And she was pronounced dead a few hours later. Dave Bowman dies in his bed. And the next scene, immediately, do we have it? Yeah. The next scene is the same bed. Dave Bowman is now gone. The monolith is gone. And instead, what's lying in the bed is the star child. After this, the scene is, this movie quickly goes and ends rather rapidly with the star child floating in space. Are we to think that mankind has evolved again? Are we to think that we are becoming physically one with the universe? I don't know. There are no answers here. Metaphysically, our human experience ends. When our human experience ends, our spark of divinity, our Christ Spirit, rejoins the one presence, the one power. Just as a wave in the ocean rejoins the ocean after it hits the shore. We are spirit. That is our true identity. 2001 is a movie about a trip to Jupiter. It's a movie about the evolution of mankind. It's a movie about our spiritual journey through our human experience. and it's a movie about a lot more, which we will talk about tomorrow night, 6:30, right here in Explorations. Thank you for your kind attention. Namaste.